Golf Smarter number 694. Stay tuned after this interview to hear how you can get a free online version of Tony Manzoni's complete video, The Lost Fundamental. YouTube sensation Christo Garcia on his story of MySwingEvolution and teaching the classic golf swing.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Christo.
Hi, Fred.
How are you?
I couldn't be any better.
Well, that's a good start. That's a great place to start. At the end of every episode of Golf Smarter, almost every episode, I request suggestions from listeners. Ask them if they have anybody that they've been following or they see on YouTube or something, and if they want me to have a conversation with them. And that's how we got together. Rick Petrick, who's been writing to me for years, says, you need to get Christo Garcia on your show. Christo went from a hacker to pro on his own, following Ben Hogan's 5 fundamentals, and does all the Hogan shot recreations for the Golf Channel movie about Mr. Hogan coming out. What? You're making a movie about this?
Well, there's a 2-night special coming out on the Golf Channel about Mr. Hogan in the same way that they did a special about Arnie 3 years ago, and 2 years ago it was Jack. So when it came up that they were going to create a long-form documentary about Ben Hogan, they didn't have Mr. Hogan around to interview the way they did Arnie and Jack. So they had to do a lot of recreations. And so they reached out to me to swing as Ben Hogan in their special.
You're kidding.
No. And
they put your body in his head?
Well, I'm wearing similar clothes. I'm wearing his shoes and swinging his golf clubs at his golf course.
Oh, my gosh. What was that like for you?
I've been a fan of Ben Hogan since the earliest I recall is being in about the 5th or 6th grade when there was a Golf Digest cover where they had Jack Nicklaus, Tom Watson, and Ben Hogan. And it was kind of like a head-to-head comparison. And I just looked at those pictures of Hogan for hours and hours because his swing it was quite different than Tom and Jack are fairly similar. Mm-hmm. But that was when I started to read about Ben Hogan for the first time. And through the years, the mystique and lore just caught up with me. And then in my early 40s, after 20 years of the most frustrating rounds of golf ever, I was buying my 7th driver in 3 years.
Oh, no.
And because I needed a driver that would fix my slice. And I was standing next to the cash register, and there was a little caddy there that had the Ben Hogan's 5 Lessons book and also the Little Red book by Harvey Penick. Mm-hmm. And I was like, $12? Give me this Ben Hogan book. I might as well take a look at this. And that
were you not familiar with the
journey.
book? You didn't know the book before that, or?
I had seen it. I had a friend that had it, and I just loved to look at those drawings by Anthony Ravelli. But I'd never owned a copy. And it was chance that I happened to be making that purchase, and there was the book right there. And I just threw it in, not even really thinking about it, and it changed my life.
Whoa. How?
Well, I hadn't broken 80 for over 20 years. I did it a couple times as a teenager, 2 times. But here I was in my early 40s, working in television in Los Angeles. In between gigs, we like to play golf. And boy, I could talk a big golf game, but I was usually, playing in the high 80s and 90s. And I'd always felt that I could be better because I, in my earlier life, had been a martial arts champion and professional ballet dancer. So I have a very high degree of movement skill, and I can, I know how to move the body, but I was not moving the golf club correctly. I can tell you that. And the way that I realized I needed to rebuild my golf swing was I literally was under the impression I had a fine golf swing until about 10 years ago, somebody videotaped me. And when I finally saw my video swing, it did not match up with what I had in my mind. And it was, and as a movement professional, I'm training to be a yoga teacher right now. I immediately realized you have terrible technique. You're never going to be a good golfer unless you really learn how to swing a golf club. So that began the journey with the Ben Hogan book.
You've got me going in so many different places with those last comments. Wait, so you came to Los Angeles area to work in television? Now I'm trying to piece this whole thing together here.
Yeah, so my original plan was I wanted to make karate movies like Bruce Lee. He was my boyhood idol, and I'm a pretty respected martial artist.
Maybe that's how Rick Petrick found you, because he always...
he's a black belt. And,
you know who it is.
Yeah. Okay. In fact, he's come to my MSc intensives. So I've trained with Rick on the golf course, but we speak martial arts.
Oh, okay.
And it's amazing how similar some of the actions can be. But that being said, I wanted to be Bruce Lee, and I moved out here, and it was the same year that they made The Matrix and Crouching Tiger, and I was like, now's your time. You've got to get out there. And for some reason, they stopped making karate movies. I mean,
oversaturated, huh?
They just don't make them anymore. It's not a popular genre, or it's not pursued by filmmakers, and so I started working behind the camera, and I found I had a passion for producing and directing, So,
and this whole time you're playing golf, you're studying martial arts, and you're performing ballet.
Yeah. I
love the
it was when I retired from ballet that I was about the same time that I realized, look, if you're going to do this martial arts movie thing, you need to move to LA. And the ballet was very largely about, again, I wanted to be the greatest mover in film, like Fred Astaire or a Gene Kelly. That's how I saw myself. It's like, when you get out there, you need to have a package that is so undeniably good movement-wise that people can't deny you. And I had actually my own television series that I was slated to star in, developed at NBC. And it just didn't make it, and then it just kind of went away.
So this is why you're so comfortable on camera.
I started my first movie in my mid-20s, so I've been on camera and on stage for a long time.
Okay, that explains a lot about your videos, because they connect with people clearly because you're so comfortable talking to the lens.
People say that I'm genuine and authentic.
There you go.
And all I can say is that I'm just myself. I'm very comfortable.
That's genuine and authentic, Christo.
Yeah, well, it's a funny thing, because a lot of the work that I do right now in meditation and yoga is to understand the mind and to understand what the self is. And we really create a lot of illusions about ourselves as we grow up, and our ego becomes reinforced, and we determine that we're this and not that. But behind all that is the real person. And I've always worked hard to reveal that to myself. And golf is one of the most valuable tools I've used to find that. And, I see my golf practice as a meditation.
Well, it's all about, and our second podcast is called Golf Smarter Mulligans, and it's replays of our older shows that aren't available anymore. And we just recently had Fred Shoemaker on, who talks about awareness. Are you familiar with Fred's work as a golf instructor?
I know the name, but I can't say I recall his body of work.
You should look into him. He's your kind of guy. And he talks about awareness. And I have to believe, based on your history, what you've trained yourself in, that you have a very finely tuned awareness of your movements and the most minute movements. And that pays off big time in golf. And that's hard to do for people who aren't as in touch as you are with the small parts.
Well,
Does that make sense?
that being said, but I remember 10 years ago standing on the 18th hole in Simi Valley at any rate, I had 108 strokes on the golf scorecard and no more golf balls. And my buddy's like, I got plenty of golf balls. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah, right.
Like, like that level of frustration with the game of golf. So all the fine tuning and touch and micro muscle management is worthless if your base technique is not correct. Like I could show you videos and tell you how to do 5 pirouettes, but good luck pulling it off.
Yeah, right.
It's a very challenging thing. And you see, I say golf is a fine art. And the difference for me between a fine art and a popular art, like say playing the guitar or breakdancing, is you can teach yourself a popular art, but you can't teach yourself a fine art. You can't teach yourself how to play the violin or dance ballet. You need a master. It's a master-student relationship that passes down a fine art.
Mm-hmm. Interesting perspective.
That's the way I look at it. Now, there are plenty of people who, I never had a lesson, or whatever. And it seems like 2 or 3% of golfers are just athletic and they understand certain things about the golf swing. And they usually play when they're young. That's an important thing too.
Yes.
But it's very difficult for people who are post puberty to pick up golf and get that beautiful flowing golf swing.
Couldn't agree with you more. I definitely have noticed in these conversations with people that so many guys who grew up playing golf end up becoming instructors because I love playing golf. This is fun and I'm good at it. It doesn't mean you're a teacher, right? Well,
there's a kind of a little bit of a problem because almost every golf teacher that I know was a very fine junior player. Mm-hmm. And that means that they've had good fundamental golf technique since they were little, and they never had to go through a full swing rebuild. And that's how you really get into the nitty gritty of, what works, what doesn't work, what must be done to execute a good golf swing. So, they're all naturals. And now I don't mean to disparage anyone, because anybody who's trying to help others play better golf, I applaud their work. I'm just saying that they have a different perspective than that of the hacker. And I've been a hacker, and I'm not saying I'm some great golfer, but 3.5 years into MySwingEvolution, my original goal was to break 80. I shot 2 under par in 3.5 years, and that was unbelievable.
That's amazing.
And I can play with the best guys at my club, and we play money games, and I'm in the cool crowd, and it's like I never would have thought that I'd be with those guys,
Well, Christo's one of the cool kids.
I mean, it's cool when the 5-time club champion is talking smack to you, right?
Wow.
It's like, I dig it. I teed it up earlier this year with 3 guys who've played PGA Tour. And I had a visitor come from Europe, a 3-time European Tour winner who wanted to study and train with me. And he and I took on 2 other SoCal golf pros that have played the tour. And I'm in this video and I'm making this little thing and I'm like, what? This is the craziest thing in the world. And on the first hole, I outdrove them all and made the first birdie. So that's the kind of dream. When I say I would say I'm the luckiest golfer in the world, but it's a lot of hard work too.
Sure.
But considering the frustration and that I was a poor golfer all the way until my 40s, to be playing at the level that I am now is literally a dream come true. And then to have turned it into my vocation is, I just can't believe that I'm about to be on the Golf Channel playing Ben Hogan. It's crazy.
It really is nuts. That's really special. Congratulations again on that. So what is this Golf Channel thing that you're being his swing double?
Well, it is, it's going to, the dates are June 17th and 18th, but I'm sure it'll replay many times.
I'm sure it will on the Golf Channel, yeah. And what, you know what the name of it is?
Hogan.
It's just called Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And on the Golf Channel.
Yeah, and they tell Hogan's story.
Is it a documentary? Is it a biopic? What kind of film is this?
Yeah, it's a 2-hour documentary with lots of recreations.
Ah, okay.
And they went all out on these recreations. I'll tell you, as a TV producer, I've never been on a set where there's one person and they have a 30-foot crane, a dolly, a drone, a Segway Steadicam. I mean, they had all the toys.
Wow.
I was really licking my chops. So
bet.
they really went all out. And I even got to hit the famous 1-iron shot at Marion. They flew me to Philly for that.
Oh, man. Because you started a YouTube channel.
Because I bought that little book and wanted
because
to
you bought that book.
Swing.
A little book that changed your life. That is.
I got to sit on Jack Nicklaus's couch. I don't know if you know that.
You were going to say his lap. I was like, what?
No, I made a documentary about Ben Hogan. I was in the middle of making that documentary when the Golf Channel reached out to me.
Oh, wow.
So I was at Jack Nicklaus's house with he and Chichi Rodriguez, and we're talking about Ben Hogan. And I just don't know how to explain that it was kind of a manifestation of the highest order of this dream to be a better golfer. And the company I've kept over the last couple of years is mind-blowing.
It really is. Hey, we're going to take a quick time out. We'll be right back. Okay, so stop name dropping already. And and you've earned it. You can drop as many names as you want. I'm so impressed at how this has worked out for you. This is so great. But tell me, now let's get into what you're doing for yourself and for others. You're teaching your methods now in golf as well, right?
Yeah, I have for a couple years. I've been teaching at Eaton Canyon Golf Club in Pasadena. I also travel around the country. I've taught in a half a dozen different states. I'll be teaching here in Pasadena the weekend of June 22nd and 23rd. Then I'll be teaching in Florida on July 6th. And then I'm trying to set up some other intensives, and I might even travel to a couple other countries this year. And the essence of my teaching is I teach the classic golf swing. I understand the modern swing. When you look at all the golf pros on tour, with the exception of maybe, Phil Mickelson and Bubba Watson, almost every golfer on tour keeps their lead heel planted and they turn their shoulders against a stable lower body. That requires a great deal of flexibility. That's what I had been trying to do for 20 years. Now, the biggest problem that I see with most amateur golfers, and it was my own problem, is a lack of time and a lack of space or room in the golf swing to be able to create speed and power. And so you get things like early extension, lifting your head, all these other types of things. What I started to do was lift my lead heel the way Jack Nicklaus and Ben Hogan lifted his heel. But essentially what they're doing is they're allowing their lower body to open up on the backswing. So by allowing my lower body to open up on my backswing, I was able to keep my center of gravity deeper and further away from the ball, which put me in a much better position. It gave my swing a longer arc, which gave me a little more time. And instead of kind of a 1-2 type of action, it was more of a languid 1-2-3 type of timing in my golf swing. And as a 40-something-year-old golfer, now I'm 50 years old, it just made all the difference in the world. But almost nobody teaches the classic swing anymore, or at least it's not in vogue. As you can see on the PGA Tour, all these guys keep their feet planted, and I think that it's a little tougher on the body. And I did have Jack Nicklaus tell me that he thinks that it's tougher on the back and lower body to try and keep everything locked in on the ground. He told me he believes that the swing should be more of a flowing motion, that starts from the ground up. And if you look at long drivers, they tend to open their hips and lift their heel, so it's better for distance. And you can't really beat Hogan, Snead, and Nicklaus for length and accuracy. I mean, they were both known for that, or all three of them. So I've really revisited the old masters of the golf swing and codified it in a sense. Like, I made a very popular instructional documentary called The Hogan Code, and my newest instructional video is called the MySwingEvolution Golf System. And there's certain things that I'm surprised that I've never seen other golf instructors talk about them. But as a movement professional, these things became really obvious to me, like the center of gravity, where it needs to be, how the swing works in the kinematic sequence from the ground up, an open chain versus a closed kinetic chain, all these different things. And I basically have started to pass that along to my students. And I think that it's an easier way to swing the golf club.
Okay, now we'll get into it. So why is it that no one's teaching it anymore? Why is it not in vogue, and that so many teachers are using a method that doesn't lift that front heel?
Well, I've been playing golf since I was 8 years old, so it's 42 years. And when I was in the 8th grade, the summer between the 8th and 9th grade, I had the standard classic swing. I imitated my older brother, who was kind of like a Tom Watson, Jack Nicklaus style swinger, lifted the lead heel, made a good solid weight transfer to his front leg through the shot. He was a natural. He's a guy that just has always been able to play good golf. And I asked him on my channel, I was like, I want to make a video with you. Okay. I said, what are you thinking about when you swing a golf club? He's like, well, I turn over this leg and then I turn over this leg. And I'm like, oh my gosh. See, that's how naturals think, He doesn't have to think about mechanics.
Right.
But when video came out in the 80s, well, after I shot that 77 as a 14-year-old, my dad took me to a teacher who is very famous now. And he said, wouldn't it be smarter to just not lift the heel and turn the hips? That way, you have to worry about less things in the golf swing. And at that age, I was flexible enough to turn my shoulders 90 degrees against my hips, essentially. And I could get the club to parallel without lifting my lead heel. And as I got stronger and older, my swing got shorter and shorter. And but I kept that heel planted just like all the pros today. And I actually worked on my game and I could not get better until I opened my kinetic chain, lifted that heel, and got a longer swing. I was just doomed. And that famous teacher, it just became like everybody started talking about it. The X Factor came out and all these different things. How much can you turn your shoulders against your hips? And then the promises of greater distance, which I believe are untrue. And it just became, in the 90s, it started to be like the hip thing that the new golf teacher, this is the modern swing. And now the modern swing is just basically locked in. You can look at almost every pro on tour and they keep both their feet planted. I would never when you throw punches and kicks and all these different things, you know. It's harder to create power, quite simply, you know. And but suffice to say, you know, it's become the most popular way to swing a golf club for high-level golfers.
Christo, you're confusing the heck out of me here. On the one hand, you're a martial arts champion, a yoga instructor, and a dancer, and then you're telling me that you're losing flexibility.
As I got older,
I don't buy it. I mean,
well,
with that much
well,
work on your body, what about the rest of us?
Well, I can tell you this. 2 years ago, I ruptured my Achilles tendon.
Oh.
And that led me into a serious pursuit of yoga. I had dabbled in yoga, but I had a doctor. I was heartbroken. My leg is still, you know, 60%, you know, but my doctor told me, you know, that leg will come back if you start doing yoga. Mm-hmm. And my golf swing is better than ever. Sure. Because of the yoga. But, and you know, when you become a parent and you have kids and you've got your job and you sit at a desk, you lose flexibility. Now, if you talk to me about flexibility in my 20s, I would have been pretty amazing physically. But through my 30s and into my 40s, all my length and my muscles got shorter and shorter, and I got tighter and tighter. And now, at 50, I'm in the best shape of my life, Fred. I'm telling you, I mean, I look like Bruce Lee right now. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying that I have the lowest body fat, the greatest range of motion. You know, I was training last night with my best friend, Eddie Bravo, who's one of the most famous martial artists in the world. You know, it's just... I've gotten a new lease on my life, and I feel like I'm better than ever physically. Everything's working right now, and it's so exciting.
Yoga's amazing, and what it can do for people, not just their body and their flexibility, but what it does to their mind and their whole outlook is really remarkable. No question
that's
about it.
really the greatest benefit. It's through the physical work that you work on yourself and your breath. Yeah. And you see, the thing is, when you're working golf is very similar, okay? Because when you get into a full stretch in yoga, it can trigger your fight or flight response because your breath becomes restricted and you're trying to create the space so you can maintain steady breath in these awkward positions. It's similar to the top of a backswing. And I see golfers they just can't. In Zen, they call it the point of highest tension. And so you see golfers, they get to the top of their backswing, they don't have flexibility, and it triggers this kind of, I got to hit the ball, and they just jerk through their transition. And, you know, in Zen archery, they say that the arrow should fly like snow falling from a bamboo leaf. You know, that one last snowflake triggers the snow, and it just slides off the leaf. You know, whereas, you know, where I was with my golf swing at the point of highest tension was I had to try and get through it and smash the golf ball. And that you look at the pros, they look so effortless because they're not stressed out through the transition. You know, they have enough flexibility to be able to get through the transition with smoothness, you know, and their mind isn't going crazy at that moment. You know, it's really a crazy similarity.
Is there a name in so many of the different ways that instructors teach golf? There's the one plane swing, two plane swing, single axis swing. You know, weight, the axis is all on your left side, and you're centering around that. Where do you put what you're doing with this Hogan method? And I just love that you're doing that, because I've had so many people tell me I've discovered Ben Hogan's secret. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to dispute you. That's great. Why? So, I mean, where does your instruction on how to swing the club fall in all of that? Can you describe that?
Yeah, I believe in an open kinetic chain, which allows the left heel to rise on the backswing or the foot rolls in. And so I refer to it as the classic golf swing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can do a classic swing with a high two-plane swing like Jack Nicklaus, or more of a flatter plane that's closer to a one-plane swing like Mr. Hogan. But it's still a flowing motion with an open kinetic chain. I'm actually, one of the things I want to work on is a build your own swing where you can test your own flexibility and movement to determine what is the best golf swing for you to build for yourself.
That's a great idea.
Because there's, everybody has different limitations physically. But for most older golfers, it's very difficult to be able to get a good coil on the backswing if you're going to keep both of your feet firmly planted on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, this is really. I'm hoping that you can come back and we can continue talking about your evolution, and how you're helping others do the same, and other projects that you're doing, because this is really fun. I want to keep talking to you.
Well, this is a lot of fun, and I appreciate you having me on, because for me to tell this story, I almost have to pinch myself, because I've loved golf my whole life, and I went through some very, very dark years where I was very frustrated with myself and with the game, because I had the passion, but I didn't have any results.
Oh, sorry to hear that. So people can find you at
MySwingEvolution.com, or you can go on YouTube and look up MySwingEvolution, and you'll find over 700 videos. I have, my entire swing rebuild is documented in over 750 videos.
Wow.
So I'm the only golf professional that teaches that I'm aware of that has an 8-year proof of concept recorded on video.
Very cool. So are you a certified PGA instructor?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I teach what I teach. I believe what I believe. I think that, I have great respect for the PGA. It's just not something that I've pursued. I'm just doing my thing. I'm just loving golf and swinging a club.
We love the story. I love this story, and enjoyed talking to you greatly. Thank you so much for coming on, and I look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you so much, Fred.
So our next giveaway is for a dozen golf balls of your choice from twoguyswithgolfballs.com. Deadline for entry is midnight Pacific time, 3 a.m. Eastern, on Sunday, June 30th, 2019. Sign up at golfsmarter.com and click on the Enter Now banner at the top of the homepage, please. And here's the last reminder for you to send in your questions about golf balls, golf ball performance, selection, or anything else you want to know, because we're bringing back Sam Hogan of twoguyswithgolfballs.com. Please submit any question you'd like by using hashtag GolfSmarter or hashtag twoguyswithgolfballs on social media, or just by coming to golfsmarter.com and click on the golf ball questions button right there on the homepage. This week on Golf Smarter Mulligans is part 2 of my conversation with Billy Bondaruk on his book and teachings, The 7 Myths of Golf. Get your free subscription of Golf Smarter or for Golf Smarter Mulligans wherever you get your favorite podcasts, including now YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and of course, Apple Podcasts. Golf Smarter Mulligans is supported by Autoslash.com and twoguyswithgolfballs.com. One last thing before we finish up. I teased it. I might as well tell you. I have an offer that hopefully is going to be hard for you to pass up. How'd you like to get a free online version of Tony Manzoni's video, The Lost Fundamental? It's yours. Here's all you have to do to get it. Submit an honest review for either Golf Smarter or Golf Smarter Mulligans from wherever you subscribe to either show. Once you've posted your review, email me a copy and tell me where you published it. Then once it's confirmed that it's online, I'll send you the link with my sincere gratitude for showing your continued support. Doesn't get any easier than that, right? And it's definitely a win-win for both of us because reviews and word of mouth are the best way for podcast listeners to check out Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans, especially if they're looking for golf podcasts for the first time. So any help that you can give and become a Golf Smarter ambassador, I would thank you very much. And I am by giving you a free video. I like that. Hey, this week's quote from Dr. Joseph Parent's book, Zen Golf, is really an important one, especially after watching the mental grind that was put on the PGA Tour last week at the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. Dr. Joe says, no matter how sophisticated their equipment or their knowledge of the swing, if golfers don't know how to work with their minds on the course, they encounter the common mental obstacles that keep them from realizing their potential. Overcoming such obstacles is the key to breaking through to lower scores.